And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Want to remind everybody hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal link down there for anybody that wants to share some love. And of course, we've got the StreamYard link down there for anybody that wants to join the panel. And it was a great class. Great class. Was very. I'm very appreciative to be able to join it. So appreciate it. So, how you doing tonight, Russ?
I'm good, brother. How are you? Hope
Good.
everyone else
Good.
is doing well as well.
Yeah, I'm
Good,
doing
good.
well here. We're slowly but surely solving problems, and of course, running into issues along the way. But that's what the
Yeah,
research is all about, and doing things preemptively, letting people know that you're not trying to defraud them or anything. You're just trying to find the correct process and routing. So,
kind of been adventuring that way myself today. Had an incident with a friend of mine that has a pit bull that is, harmless to my knowledge, and got a call. State police got involved, then the warden got involved, and so I had a pleasant conversation with a sergeant at Post 5 today, as well as the deputy judge exec, on just reason and logic of how things progress. They get a call, a dog nipping at someone's feet, and I said, okay, did they assess the problem, or did they just call a third party intervener in, which is also a public service? Instead of through reason and logic, discern for yourself whether there's a need to not further that liability. And they
yeah,
go, well, that would be great and all. Well, no, that's a liability. You wouldn't continue to give your children the checkbook if they wasn't sustaining the finances of the house.
yeah, and that's part of the issue is for the public concern and safety. What they do, um, and real quick, I got to fulfill a request for based oracle. Sounds like he was looking for tatas. So there you go, based oracle. Welcome. There's your tatas, and back to it. Um, the base principle of that safety and concern for the community is the issue. They take it to the top concern of probability or likelihood of something happening, and take it into that consideration without devaluing it or de-escalating like you're posing. And
Correct.
this is part of the problem.
I mean, I had a pretty lengthy conversation with them. I mean, that's a positive I kind of see on my end. I don't know what you fellows are seeing out there, but it seems that they're attempting to communicate with folks like ourselves even more and more, at least on my end, anyway.
Yeah.
To some degree,
Well,
to some degree.
well, that's the part of the education. See, they don't have the education of the people like myself and yourself that are doing the research and finding the nuances and being able to present that and having them question it. That's all
Yeah.
we wanted to do is at least question it, and that's why we bring the point of reason and logic into it. Because otherwise, as a man, and this is the inherent prop for any man's ego, is that they are actually correct. Because a man hates to be found in error. We really do. That's
Absolutely.
why we don't.
I know
That's
it.
why. That's why we don't like the truth.
Yep.
And we got Eleftheria with us tonight as well. How you doing tonight, sister? Base, feel free to come on up. And remember, she's from Greece, so there's a little lag.
You say Greece.
Yes.
My wife is from Greece. You know
Hello,
that, right?
your wife. Good afternoon to all of you.
Good
Greetings.
afternoon.
Greetings.
Greetings from Hellenic Republic SA. I must correct.
Dominican Republic.
Oh,
Okay.
Dominican Republic. Okay. I thought maybe I've got you confused with somebody else, but yeah, Dominican Republic still not the
Also,
United
not,
States here.
not
Oops. Yeah, and she does not have a good signal, folks. So while we're waiting for her to come back up, we're going to go ahead and get into it. And the first thing I've got here is a thing from David Chappelle. So again, pay attention to the 17 U.S.C. 107 Fair Use Commentary. Limitations on exclusive rights, fair use for free education review only. That's all we're doing here, folks. So, and I'm sure Dave Chappelle has no problem with that. So we're going to take a look at him and his take on a certain issue that we're dealing with all this insanity. Not just the Kens and Karens, but the base foundation of why they're Kens and Karens. And this is the DEI issue that I keep talking about with the diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're including all these insane categories of people. So let's take a look. What one is it? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? There you are. I got so many windows open.
My audio's all right. It's not interfering in any way.
No, not that I can tell. We're just getting started, so it's 24 minutes and 15 seconds long, so it's going to take up some time. I will speed it up to 1.5 time. But he makes some very solid points. And I want you guys, and he's going to mention it here. This guy turned down $50 million because he knows how corrupt it is and what the insanity is. And that's why I bring it up. Even though he's a comedian and it's very comedic outlook, it's very to the point, folks. So please pay attention. This isn't just about comedy here. What up, disciple? Peace and grace, brother Keith and family, back at you. Link is there if you want to join. And let's get into it.
She tells me, oh, the sketches are great. I go, oh, fantastic. Well, then why am I here? She said, because David, there's no way that you can ever say the word on our network. Hey, Renee, quick question. Seriously, I want to know, like, why is it that I can say the word nigger with impunity, but I can't say the word?
Yeah? Yeah?
No.
See, these networks are very discriminatory themselves in how they pose this shit. This is why he doesn't have anything to do with it. He knows they will discriminate against him. They will play the discrimination card any way they need to control him like a puppet. And that's what all these movie stars and actors and musicians and comedians are. They're puppets for a world stage of a popularity contest. So you too can grow up to be just like them. I'm going to be a real boy when I grow up. Think about it, folks.
Bet you take it in the backside,
the
too.
Cultural ship again?
Say what?
Bet they take it in the backside, too.
Oh, yeah. P. Diddy and all kinds of shit coming out now, ain't it? Uh-oh.
That's right,
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle. If there's one thing Dave knows how to do, it's cut through the noise, and trust me, today is no different. From feminist movements to bathroom laws, Dave's here to remind us why the uncomfortable truths are the funniest. You ready? Let's jump right into the madness. Let's kick things off with Dave's epic breakdown of the LGBTQ+ car ride. Now, if there's anything that perfectly captures the complicated social dynamics of today, it's this metaphor.
Like I was saying, my guess is the G's are driving that car. That makes sense to me because there's white men in the G's. And these people are trying to get around discrimination and oppression. And you know how white dudes are. We know these roads. In fact, we built these roads. The rest of you buckle up. We'll get you to where you want to go. So the G's are just driving the car. Of course, next to the G's and passenger seat is the L.
That part is so spot on, isn't it? Uh-huh. That's that ego part, remember.
L's. Everybody likes the L's, except for the G's. I don't know what that's about. I just know the G's don't like them that much. The G's always say like little subliminal digs on them. It's unnecessary shit. It's not mean, but you know what I mean? They just be like, I wouldn't wear that. The only thing that breaks the tension between the L's and the G's are the B's in the back seat. If there's one thing that the L's and the G's agree on, is that the B's are gross. They seem greedy to the L's and the G's. You know what I mean? They just sit in the back seat like, yeah, man, I'll fuck anybody in this car. What's going on, man? And sitting next to the B's, all the way in the back seat by themselves, looking out the window, that's the T's. Everybody in the car respects the T's, but everyone also resents the T's. It's not the T's fault, but everyone in the car just feels like the T's are making the trip take longer. Anything the T's say gets on everybody's nerves. And then the T's don't even say anything bad. They just be in the back talking to himself. I'm hot. Shut up. Shut the up, okay? What? To say I was hot. Can you pull over at the next exit? I need to use the restroom. There's not a restroom for you for 4 states, nigga. Will you just shut the up so we can get where we're going? And just when that...
You see how true this shit is getting? This
Oh,
is
I
the
know.
insanity we're looking at. Welcome back, Delatheria or Elatheria. How you doing?
I'm fine, Keith. I'm just trying to write something in the chat. You didn't hear me.
Yeah, she's got a bad signal, folks. So, yeah, that'd be an idea. If you want to convey your thought, do it down in chat, and I'll be glad. So, yeah, the insanity is right before us, folks, as I've been pointing out. As I've also been pointing out in the past, and I speak about many times, and you saw me wearing the, quote, Hitler mustache, we here on American soil are slowly turning into Hitler's willing executioners. I hope you comprehend that. So let's get back to it here. Because he's making very solid points, folks.
Car can't get any more tense. The Q's are a hitchhiker that they pick up on the road. Some white dude in booty shorts is walking down the freeway. G's see him. That guy might be one of us. Hey, you okay? Need some help? And he come over there with the booty shorts leaning on the window. Hey, what's going on, fellas? Lady, whatever pronoun makes you feel comfortable in the back. Yeah, I don't really know where I'm going. I don't know if I'm gay or I'm straight or whatever. All I know for sure is that I really want to get in this car.
Oh, Lord.
See, that reminds me, like I said, the popularity contest of these movie stars and singers and all this shit, this popularity contest of wanting to be like somebody else. That's the major distraction of knowing thyself. This man knows himself because he sees everybody else and how that's not him. He's not willing to base his life founded on those kinds of lies. And he's telling the truth about it. And he gets away with it because he turns down their dirty money.
Chappelle isn't just poking fun at the community. He's highlighting the complexity within it, showing how even among allies, there's a lot of subtle tension. And that's what makes the joke hit. He's saying the quiet part out loud, but in the...
Even amongst allies, there are subtle tensions. This is what we find in this metaverse as we go on these panels, and we have all this opposition. That's why I don't get into the opposition. I point out the plain truths. I don't want to talk about the racism and except to explain how insane it is. How can you be racist, either black, white, or otherwise? Knowing the objective truths that all of us already know, that we are of like kind. We are of what's known as mankind. And even that is not the living soul. This is where we get into that ego and that mentality of emotions and acting upon our emotions rather than using our logic and reason. This is what this man is showing you how to use. See the logic and reason why those people copulate together or gather together. Things like this. This is the same concept that we can use in society ourselves to see why people interact with each other the way they do, and why do we involve ourselves in it. Are we tranny? Are we gay? Are we bi? Are we lesbian? Whatever. Why are we identifying like that? Know thyself. That's the distraction. Classifying yourself in one of their taxonomies.
The most outrageous way possible. So next, he goes on with the idea of being born in the wrong body, and does he hold back? Not a chance.
I feel bad for T's, but they're so confusing. And it's not all my fault. I feel like they need to take some responsibility for my jokes. Because I didn't come up with this idea on my own. This idea that a person can be born in the wrong body. But they have to admit that's a fucking hilarious predicament. It's really fucking funny. And if it happened to me, you'd laugh, wouldn't
you? See, watch how he turns it around. It's a quid pro quo. None of us are not guilty. But if we go into things preemptively thinking about it and putting ourselves in other people's shoes by flipping that script like he's doing here, that old adage stands fairly precise. None of us are immune.
you? That wouldn't be funny if it happened to me. I think it would be. What if it did? What if I was Chinese, but born in this nigga body? That's not funny.
Do you not see the perfect point he's making?
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Right in your face. This is one of the greatest minds of all time you are looking at. Strong, steadfast, and don't give one fuck. And I guarantee you, he's a lot like me. He loves you, but he doesn't give one fuck whether you don't like him or if you disrespect him. That's on you. That's what he's telling you here. That's on you.
Yeah.
And for the rest of my life, I had to go around making that face. Hey, everybody, I'm Chinese. And everyone get mad. Stop making that face. That's offensive. What? This is how I feel inside.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
My feelers. Do you see what he pointed out? It's all based on your feelers and not by logic and reason. This is what shows us they are not using their logic and reason and therefore are insane.
Now picture Dave narrating a meditation app with that unmistakable voice. Talk about an experience we'd all tune into just to see how long we can keep a straight face. Now let's talk about the baby. Dave goes.
I'd like to start by addressing the LGBTQ community directly. I want every member of that community to know that I come here tonight in peace, and I hope to negotiate the release of the baby. The baby was the #1 streaming artist until about a couple weeks ago. He took a nasty spill on stage and said some wild stuff about the LGBTQ community during a concert in Florida. Now, you know, I go hard in the paint, but even I saw that shit and was like, God damn, the baby. Ooh, he pushed the button, didn't he? He pushed the button, punched the LGBTQ community right in the AIDS. Can't do that. But I do believe, and I'll make this point later, that the kid made a very egregious mistake. I will acknowledge that. But, you know, a lot of the LGBTQ community doesn't know the baby's history. He's a wild guy. He once shot a nigga and killed him in Walmart. Oh, this is true. Google it. The baby shot and killed a nigga in Walmart in North Carolina. Nothing bad happened to his career. In our country, you can shoot and nigga, but you better not hurt a gay person's feelings.
Do you understand? This is the insanity we live in. You can literally kill a motherfucker and it doesn't phase anything. But you hurt some special class of person's feelers, and now you're looking at a death sentence, folks. These people go nuts.
They do. That they do. I mean, it's almost scary how insane they actually go, though. You can literally see the demons crawling in them.
Hey, it's a 24-minute video, so I just sped it up to time and a half. You can still understand what he's saying. That's the point. We're just trying to, and when you do videos like that, it kind of helps alter that algorithm so it may not catch anything if it's copyright or something right away. So you can still get that video out. See what I'm saying? But again,
I started to respond. He was running from P. Diddy.
Yep. And like I said, I did mention the scrolling across the screen in regards to 17 U.S.C. 107 fair use for educational and opinion use. It says this is just the guy the baby shot was a gay Jew. Fast speed evades attention. Time can't be cheated. Well, that's why we're doing the commentary review, because I'm catching what it's saying. Not only am I catching it in 1.5 time, but I also watched it once already. So I've already got my talking points up here. But again, Tribe, you're welcome to come up. I haven't seen you up in a while, so the link's down there if you want to come up, guys. We're just having fun. Ain't no arguments or nothing. We're just having fun with all the insanity here. After this, I've got a couple short police videos, and then I got 4 or 5 other extended police videos that we're going to go over. Use up some time.
Yep, you heard that right. Apparently, the baby can shoot someone in a Walmart, no problem. But make one wrong comment and boom, careers on life support. Welcome to 2024, folks, where you can dodge a bullet, but not a tweet. Dave hilariously unpacks the wild ride of Rachel Dolezal, bringing his sharp humor to a situation that's hard to believe.
It's like that white black bitch that's in the news all the time. Rachel Dolezal. She always says that. She's a white woman, but then she dressed up like a nigga and shot her way up to the very top of blackness. And I always wanted to meet her just so I could understand. I just wanted to like have dinner with her so I could just look in her eyes and call her a nigger to her face. I identify black. That is trans talk, lady. Stop biting. Stop biting. There's a big difference between her and a trans. The difference between her and a trans is I believe transgenders. I don't understand them either, but I know they mean what they say. Them niggas cut their off. That's all the proof I need. And never seen somebody just throw their away. Don't need it.
It's like showing up at a dog show with a cat and swearing it can bark. Sure, it's got fur, but as Dave points out, some things are a little more complicated than they seem. If you want to pass the sniff test, you're going to need more than just whiskers and a tail. Moving on to the story of Daphne, the trans woman who attended 4 of Chappelle's shows in one weekend.
There's a trans woman sitting in the audience. This is a true story. This is like a few weeks ago. I did 6 shows that weekend. This trans woman came to 4 of them. Calls herself Daphne. Man, this chick Daphne was in there cracking the fuck up at everything I said about everybody. It was amazing. She was laughing, and it was fun to watch her laugh. You could tell she was letting go with something that was heavy, and she threw her head back, and she smiled with all her teeth. She was having a great time. And the more fun she had, I felt bad, because I knew I had some trans jokes on load. And I thought to myself, maybe I shouldn't say these jokes, because I don't want to like her evening up. She's having so much fun. But then I thought to myself, if I can't say it in front of her, should I say this shit at all? So I let her rip.
Absolutely, folks. And that's what we're talking about. This is the First Amendment, your freedom of expression. I don't care if I hurt your feelers. I really don't. If you can't face up to the truth, then that's on you. That's why I say I love you. But I don't give a rat's ass whether you like me or not, whether you disrespect me or anything. That's on you. That's the part of knowing thyself. Seeing that each of us are an image and likeness of our Creator as one in Christ, one in God. With or without Christ, you still are one in God. We are children of God, not Jesus. It's said that Jesus and God are supposedly the same thing. So we really have to think about those Christian scriptures and what they're trying to tell us in correlation to know thyself. That's that image and likeness. And that's in the things we say and do to each other. That's what I don't like. That's what I hate. I don't hate the people. I hate the things we say and do to each other. And again, I am not perfect. I will still make those mistakes here and there, but I work on progressively not. Greetings, Dragon Muffin. How you doing today?
Greetings, sir. I am doing fantastic. How are you doing? It's always a pleasure, sir. Thank you, Wizard, for all that you do, man. Much love. And, bro, I appreciate all the truth, procurement, and just, man, all your efforts, bro. I appreciate you. I had a story to share. This is mind-blowing.
Feel free.
And I want to introduce this gentleman to you at some point. I have a friend of mine in Colorado, and I was thinking of you when this got brought up into my purview because this is so fucking crazy. So this friend of mine recently did 4 days in jail, and I can't share names right now because this case is still pending, and he's got to go finish going through all of this before he takes this more public, but he wants to. He gets jailed for 4 days. None of us could get a hold of him. His wife, myself, none of our friends. They ended up coming in, commandeering him, taking him a county or 2 over, put him in the back of a squad car, no seatbelt. Cop didn't have a seatbelt on, going almost 80 miles an hour, getting on Facebook and his phone while he's supposed to be driving on and off the road. He's got footage of that on the dash cam and also on his phone of some of the shit that had happened. This man's in his 60s, had hernia surgery recently, problems with his shoulders. He's an older guy. He's not somebody to defend himself and swing on somebody or any of that, right? He's been trying to look into the same content that you have been, sir. He wants to become a sovereign. And that's basically what this was all about, was tags on his vehicle. That's what this was. And I thought it had to do with his being outspoken because in their town, they had recently shot down a man that was kind of a grifter character that came through town. Cops saw him with a pipe in his hand, shot the man down. The whole town was outraged about it, including my friend, and very outspoken towards these police from out of town that had came in. Anyways, he gets picked up, put in there. We haven't heard from him. He tried to call out several times to his wife from like, and it kept showing up as an out-of-town number, and they kept blocking the call. Finally, she calls multiple places, gets a hold of them, says this is his wife, you know, da 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 da. He goes, I'll pass on the word, and then an honest cop actually passed on the word to him, so we're finally able to get a message in. Listen to what they did to him. They take him to another jail, and they put him in a jail cell with 17 MS-13 gang members from Mexico, purposely to fuck him up. And he gets in there and he goes, man, he's like, I was so scared. He said, I started praying and it was like Daniel in the lion's den. And he bonded with every single one of those gang members. They all thought he was legit. He ended up having some tearful moments with them. He talked about truth with them. He loved on them. By
Absolutely.
the time he left the situation in the scenario, they told him they made him an honorary member. And I couldn't believe it.
Badass.
Yeah, isn't it? But that's so wild.
That's what the honor is. See, the honor is the guy that's going to be truthful, whether you're a heathen or not. See, a guy isn't truthful just with another truthful man. He's truthful with those that are sinners. This is the principle of Jesus teaching. He didn't need to teach the people already knew. He taught to the people that didn't know.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? We don't all get a say so on how everything's going to go every moment of the day. We have this idea that we have so much control over everything. We have free will, but there are parameters with that. And I'm so thankful to hear the outcome of how that all played out after the fact. It was just beautiful what he had to go through while he was going through it. Man, I felt for him. None of us knew what was going on. Like we're like, what's going on? Why would they do this?
Well,
over that, and then it was everything that happened after the fact. I couldn't believe it. I about fell over when he told me how everything went down when he got in there. I thought, oh my gosh. He had one guy come up to him, tats all over his body and his face, and the guy said, I'm a devil worshiper. Does that bother you? And he said, no. Does that bother you? He said, is that the experience that you want to have right now? And he just loved on the guy, and the guy just looked at him like, I can't believe, like, who is this guy? It was just such a wild, powerful testimony.
And that's
testimonial.
Well, and the power, understand this, the power goes beyond that. It goes on to the officers and the other administrative personnel that observe that.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I found in my own case. See, I've got there's 94 cases on there. 93 at the time I did this. I walked out of jail refusing to sign anything. I'd refused to sign anything through the whole court process. And when they finally released me from jail, the lady on the other side of the counter tried telling me I had to sign the document or they wouldn't let me out of jail.
Wow.
So I just pulled the document out of my pocket and said, you're going to tell me that you are willing to violate the judge's discharge order if I don't sign that document. I was out of there quicker than I've been out in 33 years.
Wow.
They didn't know what to do.
How about that, man?
So it's a matter of, again, you know, correlating that, walking out of the lion's den. You know, the man stood on his foundation and let that foundation show him. That's what I do when I go in there. I go in there with two items called legal documentation, and that's the Constitution and the Scriptures.
Yeah, and you know what, he set a chain of events in that place. They thought they were fucking his world up, and he just fucked their world completely into oblivion. He educated all those men in there about things they had no idea about.
Yep.
And he's on the same page with you, brother, on most things that you speak on. So I know he was in there just like literally setting them ablaze in their mindset about, he was talking to one guy. He's like, how much do you have to pay to live in here? And the guy said, well, my family sends me money. They send me about $1,000 a week. $1,000? And he goes, yeah. And he pays for his nicotine patches and all these things. And I'm like, that's a racket. He goes, that's a racket. That's a racket. They're putting people into these places and they're making money off of them. And he's like, they're all like, yeah. And he just, he found
they're all in there voluntarily too, folks.
Oh yeah.
It's all about the contract and ledgering those accounts. That's all it is.
Yep.
So anyway, let's continue on with Dave Chappelle, because again, like I said, he makes very good points, and we're only halfway through this right now, if even that.
To my surprise, Daphne laughed harder at the trans jokes than anybody in the room. In fact, everybody in the room would look at her to make sure it was okay.
Isn't that true? Got to check it out first before you speak it, right? That's why I mentioned that First Amendment. You're not supposed to be afraid. That's why he said, okay, well, spit it. Why would I hold my tongue? I berate everybody else in these jokes. Why would I leave out one group? Isn't that what they want? Is diversity, equity, inclusion? Guess what? You get to be included.
Got off stage in the dressing room. I was like, man, it was a weird show. I'm sitting in the dressing room by myself, just trying to figure out, like, what the fuck just happened out there? Like, why is it that this one woman can't take any of these jokes and Daphne can take all of these jokes? So weird. And then I realized, Daphne used to be a man. So now I go out of the dressing room and like you can see, like all the staff was there, like cleaning the club up, the audience had gone, and sitting at the bar by herself was Daphne. And she's like, hey, Dave, come join me for a drink. And I don't want to think that I'm transphobic or nothing. So I'm like, I guess I can have at least a drink. And we get some tequila and we're sitting there. And she was cool. Turns out that Daphne, she wants to be a comedian. She was asking me for advice, and I told her advice and all this shit. And then she says to me, she says, boy, you sure do get a bad rap for your trans jokes. I said, Daphne, thank you, but you don't have to say that. I hope I didn't offend you. She goes, no. She said, in fact, I read about you in the New York Times. I said, you did? She said, yeah. She said, I thought it was interesting that they blamed you for R. Kelly. They said you normalized him for telling jokes about him. I go, yeah, they said that. She goes, I wonder why they never said that you normalized transgenders by telling jokes about us.
It's like when
Yeah. See, and that's why I mentioned earlier, he flipped the script and turned it on himself and used his own capacity by putting himself in somebody else's shoe and making a comparison. Most people aren't willing to do that because they don't want to say they have some kind of fault. You don't have to admit that you have some kind of fault. You can admit that it's perceived as a fault, but you don't take it as a fault. This is the same thing with people calling me by names and stuff, ad hominems. They can call me names all they want. It doesn't affect me except to maybe catch my attention, and I'm going to try my best to stick on the conversation. That's the problem with the insane Karens and Kens and stuff. They can't stay on topic.
Exactly. And I love what you said when I first jumped on here. I heard you talking about know thyself. That's it, man. Because if we know ourselves, it doesn't matter what anybody else wants to say about us, because we already know who we are and what we emanate out and how we're showing up. And the only thing we're going to be mindful of is if somebody wants to come alongside us and say, hey, brother, hey, sister, I've noticed you're kind of doing this thing and I'm concerned about it. And I just wanted to point it out, and then maybe we can receive that. But otherwise, like, who the fuck is some person on the internet to tell us who we are? Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And real quick here, I am going to check out. We have a conversation. I told this guy I loved his topic today before I forget. I told him I wanted to do some restreaming of him because they are over there talking specifically about this thing that I'm talking about here, and this is the art of civility in conversation. Throwing off the ad hominems and the opinionated attacks. So here we have Wrestler.
Thing they're debating,
Well, yeah, when there's no definition, there's no defined specific that this is a debate, and it's just a spurred out conversation or just Spurg Olympics in general.
Well, I agree with LA on the fact that a lot of these debate centered areas are really dry because people have their own people that they're with. I think the only way, and most people don't do this because let's just be honest, it's just become so convoluted, so overwashed with the same repetitive content, that the only way to really make it a fair debate about something is to have a particular conversation of something that people are not versed in on their content, that they don't constantly keep repetitively speaking. Like, I don't know. They got to start talking about freaking snowboarding or some shit like that. Like, I don't know. But you're going to ask them. You're going to ask them
all day long.
He's talking right now about what I was saying just a minute ago, staying on topic. And again, this is Wrestler. I'll grab his link and drop it in the chats. And he's talking about the art of civility in conversation. This is why I say language is so important. You have to learn the words you're speaking so you can use them appropriately. And this is why I say, and you can quote me on this, coin your words or purse your lips.
Yep. 100. I brought this up the other day, sir. And I was telling some folks at a church gathering that, like in a court of law, they'll sometimes say, do you understand the charges? They're not asking you if you comprehend. They're asking you if you stand under. Right. So I started getting used to using the phrasing understand and overstand. So I'll say, I understand that, overstand that. And I'll say, I overstand evil plans. And then I learned this really cool this is new to me, but it's a phrasing. It's an African phrasing that means so be it or let it be so. And it's called ashe. So I'll say, in a stand, overstand that, ashe. And then that's my conclusion to the matter. But yeah, 100%. Get back to it, man. Sorry about that. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's the link in the lower chat, and there's the link in the back chat for folks. And let's get back to it. Putting back on volume.
Asking, how do you feel about this subject? There's no feelings in debate. Okay, there's none of that shit. You bring credible cited sourcing.
We mentioned that as well.
Sourcing speaks for itself. And then whoever's listening gets to make their own determination of who wins. Because really, there's no winner. Because we come.
Yeah, and that again is based upon each individual's interpretation. Again, you have to have a rightly divided word in order to make that proper interpretation.
Okay, you're wrong automatically, and you're a liar. Okay, now I've already lost the debate, right? Because now I've created a bad faith situation. Now I'm coming in with the argumentative fallacy from the get-go.
Well, if you scored your debates, they'll be a lot better because. As
welcome, Rocky. How you doing tonight, brother? Greetings, Rocky. And there's Vinny Pots and Pans. Looks like we lost Rocky, I think. Did we? No, we lost Eleutheria. So anyway, yeah, we're talking about civility and conversation or communication. And this is Brother Wrestler. The links are down in chat. Oops, wrong one.
The real big thing. If a person, even if it's conversation that we've heard before, the person who comes in more prepared for someone to challenge and say, well, no, I don't believe that. State your source. Here you go.
Did you see Mel whip up on my nephew yesterday?
I saw.
That's why I always bring sources, guys.
A little bit. But I gotta admit, when they started out, they did more green than anything.
That's all it took for.
Yeah. But I mean, it wasn't bad for one of her first officials. Yeah.
You know, something in this sense, one of my best experiences to learn on debate was when I was pushing the project of law to legalize medicinal cannabis, and I had a presentation in Congress in my country, and the counter was the second in command of a Christian congressman of that time. So the whole debate was him going against me, saying that we shouldn't legalize marijuana, that my ideas were stupid, blah, 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 blah. And here I was, and there were three things I did before that debate. I learned who the person was, who his name was, whose family was, whose everything was. That gave me elements to know how to face off. Then I knew in the line of thinking that person was at. So when I got to the debate, what I did is what I did best. I talked to the issue, not to the person. And I showed that the prejudice on this particular person was because of fear, not because of anything else. So
that's the importance of doing your research and finding out what their argument is and steel manning it. Instead of straw manning an argument, if you steel man somebody else's argument, you improve their argument, but show that it's still based on a fallacy. Or in that steel manning, you show a deeply seated fallacy. That's what steel manning somebody else's argument is. And every once in a while, you'll find out that in steel manning, you'll find your own errors. It'll work backwards. It'll show you your own errors.
So the problem is that people don't realize. It's always fear.
Yep.
Mostly always fear. But people don't realize that contrary to just a normal conversation, on a debate, you're becoming an agent to either push a change or avoid a change or go against a change. So this is why debate is a necessary element in the context of the real world. Because when you see two parts debating, there has to be something behind it. And that something is usually a project of law, something that will have a direct impact on day-by-day life of everybody in a particular nation or a particular region or a whole continent.
And this is one of the main purposes of having these debates, is to have a source of an objective truth that we can then rely on. That's the only thing that debating is about, arguing is about. Arguing is about finding a solution, a resolution, something that solves the controversy that we seem to have. So it's a good thing, but you have to have a foundation of being able to do it diplomatically or Socratically, as they say, with logic and reason, and not through your emotions. When we have these conversations through our emotions, they don't base it. They don't come up with any kind of resolution. They only drive ourselves deeper. And it's not that I'm driving anybody else by calling them a name, or somebody else driving me deeper by them calling me a name. It's my own acceptance of them calling me a name that drives myself deeper into that bullshit. That's what we each have to learn. That's why we don't like the truth, because we have to face it ourselves as being at fault.
In that sense. So the problem with the virtual world,
public servant, right?
Yeah. The problem with the virtual world is fundamentally that you have a whole bunch of people wanting to debate, not have conversations, because the only thing they want to do is showcase themselves as, look how prepared I was, or dopamine, how unprepared the other. Yeah,
it's all about dopamine.
In one way, yes, it's that addiction to be applauded.
Yeah. Yep. Acceptance is everything that humanity has ever done. That's our goal, is to be accepted. Everywhere we go, everything we do, it's basically to be in some sort of form or acceptance or not, right?
Well, the world tries to push for acceptance, but in reality, the world doesn't owe you understanding.
Oh, no.
You have to work hard for that. The world doesn't care, though. It's just in nature.
We seek it. We sure as hell seek it, right?
Yeah, we don't learn about the nature of the world. Yeah, that's the issue. I think if even as a child, as an adolescent, like, you are taught like just the nature of how things are, even the nature of animals, rather than here you are as a early teenager talking about, why did the kitten attack that pigeon? Because that's what they do. You know, if you teach them that early enough, they're more prepared for even the social interaction, not just between creatures, but how people interact with each other. That there are going to be people who are just predators. No, I'm another human being. There are predators out there, even amongst your own. And you need to understand there are people out there who might eat their own, either physically or metaphorically speaking. But you got to be aware of, and most people are not taught that way.
No, I was taught that way. I was taught that you have to smell. You have to smell before you even see the predator, and you have to listen towards the bullshit.
And this is what I was talking about, going in there preemptively with certain kinds of knowledges and stuff. And that's why you do your research, so that way when they come with a bullshit piece of knowledge, you can out it for what it is. You can object to it for what it is, and then rebut it properly with its truth and its source. Without that prior research, you can't do that. You're then basing your shit on a subjective interpersonal review of your own subjectivity as to what that reality is. You can't do that. You have to have that objectivity. That's why we have these open conversations. So anyway, let's get back to it. We're going to get back to Chappelle. We got the other half of him to go.
When you're watching a comedy special and the person who should be offended is the one laughing the hardest. Meanwhile, everyone else is holding their breath like they're waiting for a bomb to go off. But nope. Daphne's just like, yeah, go ahead, laugh. It's all good. The only person more comfortable in that moment was probably Dave himself. Let's rewind to one of Dave's conversations about what words he's allowed to say.
On network television, they have a department that's called Standards and Practices. This is the department that tells you what you can and cannot say on television. And if you're doing your job well, you should never hear from them. But if you make a Chappelle show, you'll hear from these all the time. And remember, this was 15 years ago. I made a mistake. I didn't even know I'd done anything wrong. I had written a sketch that had the word internet. So I had to go to standards and practices. They called me up. I don't know why they're calling me, but I like the lady that runs the department. She's usually really fair and was one of my favorite people I've ever worked with. So she sits me down. We have a nice conversation. She tells me, oh, the sketches are great. I go, oh, fantastic. Well, then why am I here? She said, because David, there's no way you can ever say the word on our network. I didn't know I did anything wrong. I didn't try to defend myself. I said, all right, fuck it, I'll take it out. Have a good afternoon. And as I was leaving, it occurred to me, hey, Renee, quick question. It's just a question. Seriously, I want to know, like, why is it that I can say the word nigger with impunity, but I can't say the word? And she said, because, David, you are not gay. I said, well, Renee, I'm not a nigger either.
Now that's what we call a plot twist. Imagine being told you can't play in the sandbox.
See, when you turn and flip the script, you get to use it against them. It's what I've been trying to tell people all along. The language is what's being used against you, and it's deceiving you. When you learn that language and learn how to use it back against them, you can learn how to put yourself in those shoes, particularly when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what shows that you're not insane. You can say, well, then if that, then this, just like he's doing. Put yourself in their shoes and use it against them. Quit wearing those shoes.
Because you don't have the right toys, only for Dave to drop a gotcha on everyone. It's like he's playing 4D chess while the rest of us are still trying to figure out how to shuffle the deck, or as he puts it, in a different way.
But you see, what I didn't realize at the time and what Kevin had to learn the hard way is we were breaking an unwritten and unspoken rule of show business. And if I say it, you'll know that I'm telling you the truth. The rule is that no matter what you do in your artistic expression, you are never, ever allowed to upset the alphabet people. You know who I mean. Those people that took 20% of the alphabet for themselves. I'd say the letters, but I don't want to conjure their anger. That's too late now. I'm talking about them L's and them B's and them G's and the T's. You'll be surprised. I have friends.
And of course, the Q's later on, as you find out, they're walking down the road. They're going to hit your ride later on.
All kinds of letters. Everybody loves me, and I love everybody. I got friends with L's, I got friends with B's, and I got friends with G's. But the T's hate my fucking guts. And I don't blame them. It's not their fault. It's mine. I can't stop telling jokes about these things. I don't want to write these jokes, but I just can't stop. You know, you hear all those letters together all the time. LBGT, LBGT. And you think it's just one big movement. It's not. All those letters are their own movement. They just travel in the same car together.
It's like trying to organize a potluck where everyone brings the same dish. Dave's pointing out that mixing things up is the whole point. If you try to serve everyone the same thing, you're missing out on all the flavor. Now let's get into Caitlyn Jenner. Apparently she was thinking about posing nude for Sports Illustrated, and Dave's reaction? Classic.
I felt bad that I made somebody else feel bad. To be honest, I don't even know what I said that upset that person. I have so many transgender jokes. But I feel like it was probably this joke I'm about to tell you right now. And it's not even that bad of a joke. It's a true joke. I mean, it's not true, but I had read in the paper that Caitlyn Jenner was
and this is a good one. Because again, it's all about the feelers, and that's what he's pointing out.
Contemplating posing nude in an upcoming issue of Sports Illustrated. And I know it's not politically correct to say these things, so I just figured, I'll say it for everybody else. Yuck. You know, sometimes I just want to read some stats. I don't know why you're going to.
Sometimes a guy just wants to read some stats, not look at some transgender's cock. That's the blunt point. You know, it's like having what's his name on the beer can, and look what it did. Guess what? People are just fucking idiots. Who in their right mind would want to put something like that in Sports Illustrated? Don't they see the problem that would cause with the feelers of the readers? See, they want to care about the transgender's feelers, but not the feelers of the readers. Oops. Guess what? That's what's going to come back to bite them. If you're going to base everything on feelers, then everybody's going to show you their feelers.
Yeah, I think
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been researching Caitlyn Jenner. I think she's a double flipper. She was a woman who transitioned into a man, and now she's pretending to be
A
man
transgender.
transitioning to a woman. She's a double flipper. It's called a double flipper. She's
Never heard that.
Okay.
Well, I think the most interesting thing about the Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner situation is the Christmas card of the Kardashians that came out way before Bruce Jenner transitioned. And you can see in the background a Wheaties box, and they're like making mention of what they plan to do, like subtly in a very subversive way with symbolism prior to it happening. And I think that's really wild. Sometimes we don't see that stuff till after the fact, but that's notable. It certainly is notable.
Yep. And it's, it's one of those things. This is the kind of behavior that's so endemic in various different stories that we hear throughout history, particularly to like Weinstein and Epstein and Diddy, and it's you really need to start thinking about this shit, people, and the deviancy that it really imposes. It's sickening.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, and I love this, what you're playing by Dave Chappelle, and carry on after I say this, but I'm putting this thought out there just to see what your thoughts are. Wizard, I used to be a man, I used to really be really into Dave Chappelle, and I always have been kind of. I'm from Ohio, he's from here. I've just always really been a big fan. I can't help but give a little bit of room for something that was said a long while ago, that from his supposed cousin. Somebody chimed in and said they were his cousin and claimed that he had been cloned. And even prior to that person saying that, just like looking at this footage right here versus the stuff back in the day. And I know we all go through changes physically, we all grow, we age, our voices change, our bodies change, all kinds of things. But I just noticeably, for me, I something doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like it's the same Dave. And I don't know where your thoughts are on like the cloning and all that type of thing, but I'll never forget that, like hearing that audio clip of this supposed individual that chimed in and contacted a bunch of people claiming to be his cousin, and had this whole corroborated story about how, man, they got a hold of him, they cloned him, they killed his family, all this kind of wild stuff. Like, I don't know what to think about it, I've kind of tabled it, but
well, did you research it?
I just, to some extent, to as much as I possibly could.
Did you research how many children and how many times he's been married?
No, I did not. I didn't research that.
Yeah, simple updated information that would tell you that the guy is a lunatic.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle.
Again, another one of those things that I've never heard. I've never even heard that he was cloned. I've heard of supposed people that have been cloned, but think about it. If he was cloned, wouldn't he have been cloned in a manner to behave or be a puppet? Whereas he's turned down that $50 million and knows that he's not a puppet.
That's a good point. It's like when I watch his face and his mannerisms nowadays, he just looks like a totally different person. But you could be out of the public eye for quite a while and go through it and be doing your own thing, and then come back around and you would look different. So, there's a lot of different explanations for all of that, and I leave room for all of that. I'm just basically spitballing some things. I'm not saying one way or the other. I love the dude, and I've always been a big fan of his comedy and his stand-up, and I've always respected him. And man, if I had been around back in the hip-hop game back in the day, I would have got to see his ass in Cincinnati, because he was friends with some various DJs and artists around my neck of the woods. So yeah, I got much love for him. But anyways, I just figured I'd throw that out there and see what y'all thought.
Yeah, certainly something people could research.
What if he's one of them?
Well, I don't think he is. That's why I say he's turned down $50 million. He's spoken on it many times. He said that he sees what happens to other actors and stuff when they do those things, and then they want out. They turn around and they get thrown in facilities and stuff, and mental conditions are supposedly prevalent, and they're drug users and alcoholics, and they throw the blight on their name, and they're no longer good in the industry. They'll destroy their careers. So he doesn't want that. He doesn't care about the career. He's going to be open and forward. That's what gives him the respect.
But I've noticed a lot of the teas are exposing the the T's. It's kind of weird.
Well, yeah, they'll turn on themselves. The scripture says that, Rocky. You know that.
I just didn't think that was the place for it. But I wasn't saying anything like Caitlyn Jenner's a bad person. I'm not mad at her for doing it. I'm not even mad at Sports Illustrated. If I'm mad at somebody, I'm probably just mad at myself. You understand? Because deep down, I know that I am not strong enough to not look.
Again, to look at those pictures. We are not strong enough. We have this curiosity just like a cat, and that's part of what gets us in trouble. That yearning to know the truth. We want to know. So we want to look at those Caitlyn Jenner pictures and find out if there really is, something. I don't give a rat's ass. Don't put it in the Sports Illustrated. I'm not interested. I go to the Sports Illustrated to look at the stats, like he said. Not to look at some transgender insanity. And the more you include that stuff in your marketing stuff, the more it's going to turn off the people that see it for what it is.
Look at those pictures. I don't think I'm ready to see what she's trying to show. So, Caitlyn, you better go hard or go home.
The real joke here, Dave's not judging Caitlyn. He's judging his own curiosity. We've all been there, right? Pretending we're above it, but the second it's out there, we're like, okay, fine, one peek. At least Dave's honest enough to admit it. He has another one for Caitlyn Jenner.
Something like this. Caitlyn Jenner, whom I've met, wonderful person. Caitlyn Jenner was voted Woman of the Year. Her first year as a woman. Ain't that something? Beat everybody in Detroit. She's better than all of you.
Ain't no woman been Woman of the Year the first year she was a woman. Never in the history. But a man decides that he's a woman, he becomes Woman of the Year the first year he's a woman. Better than any one man is better than all women in history.
Yeah, it's wild. And I mean, we have classrooms right now, and this is like a real thing. And even in Ohio, where there's children identifying as cats, as felines, and they're letting them put like litter boxes in the classroom. So I mean, we're in like a new thing of life. What am I trying to say? We're in this new phase of life where people are living by their feelings and not by reality, and what they feel like they are, or what they would like to be, versus what they truly are biologically. And you know what? I leave room for the transgender person that feels a certain way inside of themselves about feeling like they're supposed to be the opposite. In this mixed up, crazy world, I leave room for, there's probably an explanation for that. But that doesn't mean that we go through the motions of trying to like change it, because from a biological standpoint, we really aren't. From a psychological standpoint, we really aren't. And from a scientific standpoint, we really aren't. It's only an outward facade. And these people out there that think, well, just let them do whatever they want. I'm not going to interfere. And they can do whatever they want. But I would wager to say they're not truly going to be happy going through these motions of changing all these things, because they're going to constantly be changing the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And there never is a satisfaction within themselves to just be them.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, what we should be teaching people more,
Yeah, and that's like he pointed out, you can't sit there and say it's good for the goose and not for the gander, and say that, somebody categorized or classified as one thing and get some kind of special out because they feel a certain way, as opposed to another guy. He's got brown skin. He can claim that he's Chinese all he wants, but the objective truth says otherwise. And that says his feelers of feeling like a Chinese is all it is feelers. It is not truth in fact. People want to step and cross that line and say, yes, it is. No, it's not.
Didn't Dave Chappelle put a dress on once? I saw him in a dress.
That wouldn't be racist, Tribe. It might be sexist or discriminatory, but it would be racist.
I don't know why all these rappers have to put on a dress.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like, as Cat Williams pointed out, is some kind of part of the hazing of getting into that elite group and start flinging them signs and this and that. it's interesting the details that are out there, but again, there's such a confluence of them that you really can't make a certain discernment. You can only make conjectures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would exactly, and I think that's exactly what it is. It's some form of a hazing, mockery ritual. I got a cool, interesting story though. I got a pastor friend of mine that I used to do homeless outreach with, who was hiking up in the woods up in Yellow Springs, Ohio, one time, and this is so crazy. He was walking around this corner, and Dave Chappelle and this dude dressed like in a monk outfit come walking around the corner, and there's like a haze of like weed smoke, and he like all of a sudden realizes it's Dave, and he goes, "Oh, Dave?" And Dave's like, "What's up, man?" And he goes, "Can I get a photo?" And Dave's like, "Nah, man, this is my sanctuary." And I'll never forget that. It's like
Nice.
so random and amazing.
Keith,
Yes, sister.
I want to intervene for something. Here in Hellenic, not Dominic, Hellenic Republic SA, we had 2 months before a special outcoming from the Greek child support services when they identified the mother who is complaining about the LGBT agenda for her children in the school. They diagnosed her with autism. They made her independent in order to control the situation.
Yeah, and see, that's that medical society that everybody falls victim to. And that again is it know thyself. Know thyself is to be able to heal thyself.
Yeah.
So we have to understand, again, that's that public education system. She was speaking upon the autism, and they held that against the mother, saying, since you're autistic, you can't make the determination, so therefore we will in the best interest of the child. This is all a false dichotomy under a false patriotic system. There is but one Father which art in heaven, and if you don't have your house set in order and follow the word of God and bring your children up in the ways of the Lord so they will not depart, then you've already been screwed. And that's why we don't,
Yeah.
in my opinion, we should not be sending our children to these public education centers until we have helped them learn the ways of the Lord and develop themselves spiritually.
I haven't taken my children to school for about 5 years now. I've took some diplomacy amnesty by them, by the corporate, so to frame them with their ways and show them that I can homeschool my own children, because I trapped them by unschooling them first. They denied it to take them to the school back because of the job thing. I was denying the job thing. You know what is the job thing? The injection.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. They wanted to put masks, to take the tests in the noise.
Yeah, and that's
And I
that,
them
and that's
using every single law that I could find. I managed to keep away the DA juvenile. She tried to accuse me to being incompetent. I saw her my diplomacy in psychiatry. I used weapon against them. I saw her
nice.
protection officer diploma. I took about I don't remember exactly the number. I was about 100 diplomas. I saw here 100 diplomas and sent her by the email as a physical person, because my birth certificate is not with capital letters, neither my husband's is. We do not have a genuine birth certificate with capital letters.
Well, that none of that, as we're finding out, a lot of that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the style. It's evidence that that something exists, and that something that
Yeah.
exists is an accounting. That accounting
Yeah.
merely needs to be balanced because it's a double book entry. And what happens is they balance their side of the double book, but your the double book only shows the debits. So
Yeah.
you're left with an obligation of public service to fulfill that side of the ledger. That means you have to keep your own ledger and issue certain documentation to show that you're keeping that ledger and it's payable on a certain day. It's a matter of knowing how to settle the ledgers.
Yeah.
But we'll get
Did you
into
see-
that on other things.
Did you see the discharging indemnity bond PDF that I sent you?
I'm sure I have. I've seen a lot of them.
I sent you a couple of hours ago. I found it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Then I'll take a look. I'll take a look at it.
To find a way to escape the IRS thing, because I had filed for U.C.C.N.1 308 2 years before, and I'm exercising these duties within the system without being of the system. It's really hard. It's
Right, and that's why it's important. That's why it's important. Well, that's why, yeah. Well, and that's part of it. That's why it's important to understand. And again, we can get into this deeper some other time. But for the point right now, the point is to learn about the double book entry system so you can do that ledgering to settle the account. You know the account's there. You don't want to operate the account. You want to settle the account. It's not your account to operate, but you have the ability to settle it. And like I said, we can talk about that some other time. So let's get back to Chappelle here.
I had a period. Ain't that something? Oh, I'd be mad as shit if I was a woman. I'd be mad if I was me. If I was in a BET Awards sitting in there like in the winner for Nigger of the Year, Eminem, my man.
For some, it's like watching someone win a marathon they just started. But Dave's got you laughing through every twist of the race. And that brings us to feminism movements, where Chappelle's take is as sharp as ever.
There's a problem.
And this is the part I was talking about earlier when I mentioned feminism, guys. Your fight for feminism has destroyed your ability to be feminine, because now you allow men to be feminine and overtake you in all of these different categories. How do you feel about your femininity now? I think you did something wrong there, and you had the help of men to do it. Think about that, ladies. But these men weren't honorable men. These men were the men that filled government and said, okay, yeah, we'll give women that right to sit in the chair next to us so we can grope them and have that while we're away from our wives. That's the corruption that sits there. That's why they allowed you your rights. It wasn't me. It was a bunch of corporate beta cuck males that wanted you there for their devious reasons, and you still ain't seen it yet, decades later. Wake the fuck up. Just like I tell the men, it's time to wake the fuck up. We're all full-grown boys and girls.
And that feminist movement, isn't there? from its inception in America. There's always been a racial component. When Susan B. Anthony was having that meeting and Sojourner Truth's black showed up, read your history books. All them white women asked Sojourner Truth not to speak.
Do you see the foundation of feminism wasn't even feminism? It was the fact that some colored lady was standing up against up for anti-slavery back in the day, and because she was a woman, they helped correlate and impose the concept that women were being violated. So they extended it from slavery to women. Then women to what? Gays and lesbians and bis and trannies. This is ridiculous, people. We have to get back to the reality of the truth, and we each have to stand up to it singularly as men and women as we were created. If you're going to stand there with a cock all curled up and taped up under your sack, dressed up in women's clothes, and try to tell me you're a woman, I know you're bearing false witness. Know what I mean? Just because you want to say that you're gay, I know you're still bearing false witness. There is no such thing in the scripture that says that's right. Our intent of being created is to procreate with the opposite sex. Again, my opinion, folks, according to my research and the way I interpret it. And I think it's objectively true.
They didn't want to conflate the issues of women's rights and slavery. But you know how black bitches are. Sojourner Truth went up there anyway. She did a famous speech. She said, "Ain't I a woman?" I supported the Me Too movement. But the whole time, I thought that the way they handled that was stupid. They were doing shit like going to the Golden Globes, and all of them would be like, let's all go to the Golden Globes and wear black dresses, give these men a piece of our mind. That is not going to work. You think Martin Luther King's going to be like, I want everybody to keep riding the bus, but wear matching outfits? You got to get off the bus and walk. It's real talk. Real talk, that was a silly movement. I want everybody to wear crocheted pussy hats so they know we're serious. And then I said something about it in one of my specials, and all these women actresses came after me. I said, man, fuck y'all too, you canceled. I ain't for none of your pictures again. They were like, who is he to tell us anything? I'll tell you exactly who I am. I'm the one that got off the bus and left $50 million on the bus and walked.
Absolutely. Told you he was going to speak about it. He had a $50 million offer to join the club. To go ahead and wear that dress Rocky was talking about. This and that. Do those other things. P. Diddy, Epstein, Weinstein. He didn't want no part of it. He knew what he was getting into. He saw it. He's got eyes and ears. So does everybody else. It's just that so many people are enamored in this popularity contest that they can be just like that. Is that what you really want to be like?
I agreed with these women. I just didn't agree with what they were doing about. Because if these women were serious, you know what they would have done? They all would have fired their agents. And they would have went to the mailroom of one of these big agencies and found a woman that was busting her hump in there and said, if you want to talk to us, then you have to talk to her. And if they did that, then she would be big and they would be big and nobody would get fed to Harvey Weinstein. But did they do that? No.
It's like trying to stop a hurricane with a fancy umbrella. Sure, you look good, but...
And in case you don't know, what he's talking about there is Weinstein. He's one of the big producers in Hollywood and stuff. And all the comedians and actors and movie stars and this and that. And so a lot of them funnel through him. And he's one of the guys that supposedly funds a lot of this stuff.
Did it do anything? Dave's out here offering real talk. Fire your agents, walk the walk, and stop crocheting protest hats like that's going to scare the patriarchy. Fashion statements are cute, but revolution's got a different dress code. And now, another hot topic coming through, abortion.
I'll be real with you, and I know nobody gives what I think anyway. I'm not for abortion. Oh, shut up, nigga. I'm not for it, but I'm not against it either. It all
He's going to make a very important distinction here. Pay attention.
Depends on who I get pregnant. I don't care. I'll tell you right now, I don't care what your religious beliefs are or anything. If you have a dick, you need to shut the fuck up on this one. Seriously. This is theirs. The right to choose is their unequivocal right. Not only do I believe.
What he's saying here is if a man is dumb enough to get a woman pregnant or rape her for heaven crying out loud, and get her pregnant that way, and she decides to have an abortion, that's on her. That's her right. She does have that right. I agree. But the men's right starts in whether you insert that thing to begin with. So once you insert it, and then she decides she wants to abort it, you have to understand your responsibility in that situation. If you can't take it from her, doesn't matter what you planted. This is that part about setting thine house in order. You don't go putting your shit in another woman unless you know what you're both doing. This is why we're in the position we are today. We got so many people out there in this hedonistic society having unwanted and unneeded children, and then thinking that that gives them the right to go ahead and just have an abortion because it's not wanted or needed.
I believe they have the right to choose. I believe that they shouldn't have to consult anybody.
What'd you say?
I said that's right, Keith.
Yeah, and it's very important that
many children are thrown away. We have situations here that they are throwing living babies inside the garbages, or they throw it like garbages in the road, down the road. It's very sad.
Yeah, and it's
With the right comes responsibility. With every right comes responsibility. If you want to take pleasure with sex, it's your own right. But if this right intervenes with someone else's right, that he's the baby or she's the baby, it's not only your right.
well, one of the amazing things is that a lot of these people are Christians. And a lot of them believe that there's supposedly a second coming of Christ. And that somehow magically he's going to appear in some other way rather than the way he first appeared as a newborn child. And so we're taking away that that inhibition to do so by not recognizing the story of life, the light, the life, and the way. And that's the miracle of the procreation, where we do get together in God's intent, as he meant us to go forth and multiply, be prosperous and abundant, and replenish the earth. It's that simple. You can't replenish the earth if the very thing that you're supposed to replenish the earth with, children, you kill them in any manner, let alone abortion.
Except for a physician about how they exercise that right. Gentlemen, that is fair. And ladies, to be fair to us, I also believe if you decide to have the baby, a man should not have to pay.
Bingo! Equal consideration, quid pro quo. If you're going to go around laying your wide lips open and taking in children and have 3 different children by 3 different daddies and demanding money from them, sorry, that wasn't your right. You don't have the right to go around creating bastard children.
Well, now we don't have enough people to replace because of all this. All the nations, all the Western nations, because of abortion, and even China, they don't have enough people to replace the workers and stuff because they killed them all.
Yes. Yeah, and that's one of the problems that we face today, and people don't even realize it, no matter how much you can scream it out, is the population density that we look at today. You know, they scream that we're overpopulating the world, but actually the human population is now on a decline, where we have about 1.5 children per family, and that's not enough to sustain humanity. Whereas one population, the Muslim population, has about 3.5 children per family. That can sustain a population. So we have this change coming on that people don't see in the population of the world. And I don't care what you think about it. You look at the reality of it. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at a change in the population to a Muslim type caliphate rather than a Christian scripture and military government. It says second coming of Christ is a mindset, virtue, equity, consciousness. From this, vice at law consciousness. This is the thing about the image and likeness where I'm aware that the man I'm facing has what we know as culpability in being able to commit heinous crimes, just like I know I can. This is where we have to have that virtue of trust. We have to be able to observe our surroundings and say, that man coming at me with a shovel, is he coming at me in an offensive way, or is he coming at me to hand me a shovel to put me to work or something? Our observances are important, and this insanity we see is important in our learning how to discern our own actions and interactions with those such people. I prefer not to interact with them. That's the first sign that they bear false witness. They won't admit to themselves who they are because they don't know themselves. They only go on their feelings. That's not knowing. Sorry, folks.
That's fair. If you can kill this, I can at least abandon him.
Absolutely. If you can kill him, I can at least abandon him. You can't force, as a harlot, a man that thought he was in love with you because you got in your feelers and got upset because he did something you didn't like, and then use this false patriotic system against him, this legal system against him, to hold him accountable and attached to that child. I've seen many cases where women do this, and the guy's not even the father. Spending time in prison for not paying child support. Come to find out, they spend 5 years in prison after already spending $22,000 in child support. To come to find out, after release from prison, they finally get him, convince him to do a paternity test. Oops, not the child. You know the worst thing about it? The bitch knew all along and was still in communication with the baby's daddy at that time. Knowing the man was in prison, not the daddy's father, paying child support, but in prison for not paying child support by knowing the other guy was the daddy's father, or the child's father. Didn't need a paternity test. She already knew it. This is the insanity and why we need to open our eyes, guys. It's our fault first. Set thine house in order says that God first, then the man of the household, not the woman of the household. We're not supposed to be listening to women try to tell us what to do. We're supposed to be using our reason and logic to determine if what she's telling us is in emotions or in reason and logic. If she's speaking in reason and logic, great. Let's sit down and consult and have a debate about it. Make sure we're going to step forward together and do what is carefully maintained to be good and profitable unto men.
It's my money, my choice. And if I'm wrong, then perhaps we're wrong. So figure that out for yourselves.
It's like trying to defuse a bomb while cracking jokes. Somehow, he pulls it off, leaving the audience laughing instead of running for cover. Finally, let's wrap up with the hilarious bit about bathroom laws in North Carolina.
I am not indifferent to the suffering of someone else. There's laws, the mean laws in our country. North Carolina passed a law once that said a person in North Carolina must use the restroom that corresponds with the gender they were assigned on their birth certificate. No. No, that's not a good law. That's a mean law. No American should have to present a birth certificate to take a at Walmart in Greensboro, North Carolina with a baby shot.
That's one of my favorites because it talks about that birth certificate. See, that's the base foundation. It seems that we're supposed to present a birth certificate for every fucking thing we do. See, that's the base foundation of any identification you have to carry, supposedly, is that it's based on that enumeration at birth that describes the Social Security account that then uses documentation of the birth certificate and a Social Security card to then provide to a department to get an ID, even though it's not for identification purposes. Huh?
That's right.
Say they designed this law to protect me, my interests. Transphobic comedian Dave Chappelle. And let's say that I'm in Walmart doing a little shopping with my family, and then I gotta go to the restroom. So I excuse myself from my family. I go to the men's room. Now I'm standing at the urinal taking a leak, and this is what this law is gonna do. And suddenly, a woman walks into the men's room. I'm like, that's strange. And then she stands shoulder to shoulder with me at the urinal. I'm like, what's going on with you? And then she hikes her skirt up and pulls a real live meaty out. And what do you think I'm gonna say? Thank God she's in here with me. At least now I know my family's safe. No, I'm not gonna feel that way at all. I'm gonna feel very uncomfortable. I would feel better if it was a man backed up to the urinal next to me. I wouldn't even think about that. I was like, that's funny. This guy is peeing out of his butt for some reason. Oh my God, he must be a veteran. Thank you for your service.
Oh, goodness. So what do you guys think? He makes some very valid points, doesn't he, Rocky?
Yeah, I did my part. I had 8 children, so I'm good.
There you go. There you go. See, I came from a large family. My mom's side was Scottish, and she had 11 total. She had 10 brothers and sisters for a family total of 13 with mom and dad. My dad had 13 brothers for a total of 15, or excuse me, 16 with grandma or with mom and dad. So German and Scottish families both were large, and it kind of seemed to drizzle at that point. I'm the last of the Conradi line on my dad's side.
Yeah, my mom had like 12 brothers and sisters also.
Yeah.
And they used to have big families.
Yep. And that's part of the problem with today. You know, we do have this massive population. People have seen it growing over decades. But we're now at a birth rate that's not sustainable for human life. That's not going to say, that's not saying we're going to die out. Like I said, there is one population that is growing. And that would just suppose that there would be an emergence of a larger population of them and a decline of the other population. Therefore, a change in power control systems and this and that. Like I said, even the religious systems, they would move more likely to a Muslim caliphate, depending on how far, you know, how extendedly overbalanced that gets. You know, if the white population turns around and starts having more children, they could bring that back into a better balance. But again, that goes again to mankind, not specifically just Muslim or Christian. It's the overall population being sustainable.
Yeah, I don't think they think they need us. It's like they don't need us no more. They got their AI robots now. Just get rid of all of us.
Right, and I think that's predicating that there might be a possibility of thought out there, line of thought out there that there could be a much smaller population of mankind that could run the world, and the machinery would be the harvesters and the laborers, and therefore you wouldn't need to have slaves. You would just have a population of people that would be without suffering to those kind of things, except in rare cases that they would call natural phenomenon or acts of God. And therefore you'd live in this utopian world of no liabilities because it's all in the machines, and the machines can't be wrong. Pathetic.
Yeah, so they want 500 million, like George Guidestone's 500 million. Those must all be elite, only the elite. So there must be at least 500 million of these motherfucking elite running around.
Yeah, something like that. Them or their next of kin, 4 generations down, whatever, however it works out. But anyway, so let's get on to the next one. I got a couple of shorts that I got with police interactions here.
Someone called the cops on this single mother, saying she's in distress and needs help. But when
and this is one of those community care concern calls. It's not that there's been a crime or anything committed, but somebody says that somebody's upset and they feel that she might be a danger to herself, so they want the police to go check on her. So this is what happens. The police, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that, folks. This is dangerous.
Yeah, if you want a welfare check, go check on yourself.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, do your own welfare check.
Well, despite the lady explaining she's fine and repeatedly asking them to leave her property, they go on and help her the best way they know.
You have a warrant? Have I done something illegal? Can you please articulate that, please?
I can't. See, we've gotten to the point where they already knocked on the door and asked what's going on. She said she's fine. That should be the end of the call. She says she's fine. We don't see anything wrong or out of the ordinary. She's trying to take care of her kids. It's 10:30 at night. She's trying to get them in bed and stuff. And rather than realize that and be reasonable and logical about it, they're stuck in this other person's emotions for community care and concern, and they're going to prove their emotions because they can't rightly divide the situation and discern that the woman is just fine and that there may be some kind of discord between the people that made the call and did it in a devious manner because they wanted to like slaughter or something. This is a different form of swatting.
Why are you here bothering me? What have I done, sir?
Ma'am, we got a call.
My friends who call cops on me at 10:30 at night? I don't think so. You need to leave.
No,
you need to leave, sir. I am fine.
Do I need to detain you?
Have I done something illegal or wrong? By being upset? You're here on my porch right now bothering me at 10:38, scaring my children off. Please leave my property. I am fine. I am telling you that I am safe and fine, and everyone needs to go right now. Unless you want me to call a lawyer? Is that what we need to do right now?
I don't care who you call.
You need to go.
I'm not yours.
Leave the property then.
No.
What am I being detained for? What did I do? Where's your single articulated facts, sir? Oh, you're going to put handcuffs.
And without anything, when she asks him that, that's when he pulls out the handcuffs. This guy's in big trouble.
I mean, no,
yeah, but
do not touch me. Do not touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Someone called the cops on this single.
you only got audio present. You don't have no video showing.
Oh, what happened?
Oh, I'm backstage. Maybe it is.
Oh yeah, I didn't put it back on full screen. I'm sorry, folks. I told you I'm not perfect at this, and I will get better. But once in a while, when you're running the program by yourself, you don't have no secretary or nothing. Sorry. So anyway, we'll just run it again. But it's basically they come up to her on her porch. This is her curtilage, and this is a community welfare check that was instigated because somebody else has hurt feelers. And so it's more like a SWAT call than anything. And these people in these uniforms come up and prove that as well.
Single mother saying she's in distress and needs help, but when the cops show up, despite the lady explaining she's fine and repeatedly asking them to leave her property, they go on and help her the best way they know.
You have a warrant? Have I done something illegal? Can you please articulate that, please?
I can't. Can I get your name, please?
Why are you here bothering me? What have I done, sir?
Ma'am, we got a call.
My friends who call cops on me at 10:30 at night? I don't think so. You need to leave.
No,
you need to leave, sir. I am fine.
Do I need to detain you?
Have I done something illegal or wrong? By being upset? You're here on my porch right now bothering me.
Absolutely. El Makael is a welfare check, not an invasion in privacy, Fourth Amendment. Invasion or attempt to make a determination of one's mental state. Absolutely. In my determination, in my opinion, only of course, but in my opinion, it is because of what's known as curtilage, which is an area of land and buildings immediately surrounding a home and is considered an extension of the home for legal purposes. The term includes yards, porches, driveways, carports, and sheds. So technically, when these people come to your private property and they enter onto your curtilage, particularly in a welfare check, and they go beyond that and make it a criminal offense, they have violated the person's Fourth Amendment right to be secure in their person's houses, papers, and effects. Greetings, JG. How you doing tonight, brother? Awesome to see you, brother. Thanks for joining us. And so let's go back to it.
Yeah, some Karen called on her.
Right. Well, it was one of their friends that had gotten upset with them and decided that you know, she's being emotional about it. So we're going to call somebody and have them help her out with her emotions because they're the ones that are really in their emotions. It's funny how this works, and that's why it's important to pay attention to this stuff.
Are you scaring my children off? Please leave my property. I am fine. I am telling you that I am safe and fine, and everyone needs to go right now. Unless you want me to call a lawyer, is that what we need to do right now?
I don't care who you call.
You need to go.
I'm not going to.
Leave the property then. What am I being detained for? What did I do? What is your single articulated fact, sir? Oh, you're going to put handcuffs on me now? Do not touch me. Do not touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch.
Evidently, a citizen successfully helped. So I'm trying to track this down. There's nothing on it that I know of on how to track that down except through Inspector Darkmind, and I haven't been able to contact him yet. So we'll find out. I want to find out what's going on here because, like I said, these welfare checks that people call on each other, these are dangerous. They put these police in the mindset of being emotional. And that is what escalates situations already. Even if you have a calm, demeanored man, the police officer will get in his emotions, and that's going to escalate things. When they come into a call already emotional, because the call itself is founded on emotions, this is dangerous.
And they used to get that. I homeschooled my children, but one of the reasons is because I found out that the schools would get children to snitch on their parents. And then they did that too. They used to do that anyway.
Yep. Right. Now our next one, this is the Angry Vet. This is on the Intel Police, but his channel is the Angry Vet. Go over and check him out too. He's got a lot of good content. This one here is a good one.
Chilling in his car when a cop suddenly approached, demanding ID without giving a clear reason. Watch how
they're traveling nowhere or anything. There's two of them in the car. They're just sitting in the car at the side of the road, chilling. That's all they're doing. Pay attention to what this guy says. He's going to try to supposedly get him for disorderly conduct. Really? Sitting in the road chatting with, or sitting in the car alongside the road chatting with each other is disorderly conduct. I'd like to see how you reach that conclusion.
how the driver stands his ground and questions the officer's authority.
Get my identification? For what? So, I'm not going to give you my ID. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
You refuse to give it to me, sir?
I am refusing. What happens once you get it? What happens then? I'll find out. Is that a threat?
Well, you'll find out. See, this is the common one, folks. That is a threat. It's intimidation. Oh, you'll find out. Yo, you're not going to give me your ID? See, that's why they demand it. It's a threat.
I usually handle it by, like if a cop wants to give me a ticket, I'll say, what do you do if I don't sign it? And they'll say, well, we'll arrest you. And I'll say, by what means necessary? And they'll say, by all means necessary. So then I sign it under duress.
Yeah, that's excessive force. Because I refuse to use any force and assert a pen to paper, you're going to use force to take me somewhere until I do. I am glad to do so because I will never put that pen in my hand, you heathen motherfuckers.
It's the law that I'm going to find out. Really. I'm going to find out what happens when I don't give you ID for not committing a crime.
What crime?
It was going to be a
suspect us of committing. A disorderly.
A disorderly.
See that? He had a hard time choking that out. You see, he had to swallow real quick first before he put it out. And then he forced himself to put it out because he knew what he was saying was bullshit. Disorderly. Two men sitting in a car alongside the road, no key in the ignition. They're just sitting there talking. Some clown in an outfit comes along, says, I'm going to get you for disorderly. Right? Really? The chaos. And you're going to write me a ticket for disorderly.
So you're actually planning on charging me with something?
You do that. Please.
refusing to engage. No, it is not a consensual communication. I was sitting here, in fact, having a conversation with my brother here in the car, and you, sir, interrupted our privacy.
Begging you. Please. Yeah, fucking charge. What's the charge going to be? It's the law, so there should be a charge.
It's the law that they get to violate your privacy to charge you with a fucking disorderly because you won't talk to them. That's a violation of your First Amendment right of association.
Well, they try to make it sound like because you're not identifying, that's disorderly.
Yeah, prove that I have to identify what crime am I committing with my brother here, because it's obviously we're committing it together, and therefore you would be able to demand that both of us identify, even though we're both sitting in a car not driving. These people are just fucking insane idiots.
They try to get away with shit on the fly, and then once they're checked, they double down. And
yeah, they think everybody's dumb.
Well, because they're order followers, they think we got to be fucking order followers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not an order follower.
Yeah, listen to them. No, listen to them. That's their main excuse. I'm just doing my job. Nothing personal, brother. I'm just doing my job. I don't give a fuck.
He's not an authority. He's just a corporate agent. We don't need to submit to any of his commands.
Yep, absolutely.
We don't need to open the door.
He's a hireling.
He's not the authority.
And that's what people don't get, isn't it? And that's why I say, most people bow down to that authority because they think they have it, and they don't. When you comprehend the language that's being used and learn how to rebut that with supplemental terms and conditions that are truthful, it defeats their false logic.
Yeah.
Yo, my dad was a cop, right? I've told you guys that many times, and he used to sit in his room, write reports, and he would just manipulate the whole report. I overheard it. I got to know him, man, and he would manipulate the shit out of reports and whatnot. That's what they do. They just they can't be thorough and correct. They gotta be a fucking nefarious fuck, just to save their own asses, because they constantly get themselves in positions where they're fucked. So they gotta lie.
Yeah, they've got to self-aggrandize themselves to overcome their fuckery.
Yeah, and only people that want to be cops are people that got picked in school.
Go ahead, Al.
A report, change the report of something.
That's why we got to record these cops, and that's why I got locked up. That's why I got arrested, Keith. It's because I recorded that cop.
Right, and that's what I think.
After I recorded that cop for a couple days, they were mad, and they kept looking at me. They kept following me around, and then they finally caught me on the tracks. And the guy that fucking came to me the first time, give me all that disrespect that I video recorded, right? The guy being fake and gay and being a fucking prick. Once I got arrested, he shows up right at the end, and he had to get his words in. And I'm like, you're just another bitch-ass punk like my father. I can see right through you. You're transparent. You're a fucking bitch that plays games and fucks people's lives. That's what they do, man.
Yeah, and
where you were recorded him? Where you was it in a public place?
Yeah, always.
It's not a violation when it is in public place.
Yeah, he knows that.
Yeah, if you're going to film a cop, though, you got to remember that they're going to be pissed. They can be pissed, and they might try to get you. So
yeah,
you can videotape a cop. You can get him when he's fucking up, saying dumb shit. But always remember, they can come right back and get you.
Conversation, not in. You weren't in a private sector. You were in public. So you could record him and the conversation for proof of association, for proof of
Yeah, but
exchange.
it's egos, miss. It's egos. I crushed his ego, and that's what kills these cops.
Yep. Absolutely, I agree with you. You know, when you start putting these guys on Front Street, it's like Paul and Slave says, they're trying to pimp you. Don't accept that game. Put them on Front Street. Let them know you know the game, and the gig's up.
Yeah, and Paul is also one of those cops. He's also a manipulator. So.
Yeah, I'm surprised I even mentioned him, but it's.
Well, I had to say that because I know you know that, but I don't know about Rock.
But anyway, let's get back to it. We got We the People, Abaya Israel again. He's gonna. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we got Abaya Israel, We the People. We've mentioned him before. Go check him out. We the People University on YouTube. And it talks, says rehired cop caught handcuffing his own children, making death threats to mom. Fired and charged. Now this one I have not seen. I have not watched this one yet. So we're gonna watch this one together for the first time. Be sure to let me know what you got to say anytime. Just let me know and I'll pause it.
It appears Norton handcuffed his two kids, tight enough to cause pinch marks on their wrists as punishment. The affidavit raises other concerns about Norton, saying he told the children how he would break into his ex's home to kill her and her husband. And it asserts that Norton once said he wanted to murder someone. So he could see what it felt like.
Wow, folks. Wow, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, this guy is psychotic. That's a tendency. That's a psychotic tendency to imagine things like that and want so much to know what it feels like. Again, we're talking about those feelers. See, that's the problem. People can't live in logic and reason. They think they got to live in these feelers, and that's the distraction of the real spirituality of putting order to chaos by using logic and reason. Fucking sick.
9 News Investigates dug into Norton's law enforcement career.
He wanted to murder somebody so he could see how it felt. And I always see this comment down, at least in my comment section on this channel, that cops don't become psychos, but psychos become cops. The first time I saw that, I thought it was hilarious. Like, wow, it actually may just be true. Like, it just may be true. Like we're about to see a video where a police officer literally handcuffs his children for torture. That's their punishment. He's threatening to unalive his ex-wife. And the sad part about this is you see him going from one department to the next, and the second department simply makes an excuse of why they are hiring him. This is the big problem in policing. And what frustrates me more and more is that I still look in the comment section and I still see people or different individuals down there making excuses.
Absolutely. When we continue to make excuses for this stuff, that's what allows it to continue. That's just the old adage that evil exists only because the good men don't do anything about it.
Excuses the same way the departments are making excuses for these police officers. They continue to make excuses as if we're all just crazy and as if, oh, you guys just hate police. No, we don't like the bad police, which obviously sometimes looks like all, from my experience, it's either you conform or you leave. I chose to leave. Now we have a cop handcuffing his children, threatening to unalive their mother, and making statements like he wants to commit murder just to see how it feels. If I see any of those comments down below in this video about you guys are just crazy and you don't like police, you see this right here, these gray hairs, I did not have them when I started this channel, We the People University. It came from reading comments like that. Out of all of the evidence that we have on this channel, and not just this channel, all the channels across YouTube showing you all the evidence, and you still make comments like that. Yes, free speech, you can say what you want. We understand that. But that doesn't mean I can't look at your comments funny and think something may be a little wrong with you if you can look at a video like this and think that we just want to dislike cops for no reason when they're torturing their kids with handcuffs. Anyway, let's jump into this video.
And that's the reason I wanted to pull this video up, because I do want to show, that private, personal side of police officers. And this is not to say it goes across the board as a whole, but I do believe this kind of stuff happens to some level in most of them. It's part of a personality trait of being narcissistic, egotistic, and manipulative.
Leave your thoughts down below. We'll talk more here in a second about this one.
Cops use handcuffs to arrest suspects, but Longmont police accused Morrison officer Richard Norton of using cuffs to commit child abuse. According to an arrest warrant obtained by 9 News Investigates, it appears Norton handcuffed his 2 kids, tight enough to cause pinch marks on their wrists as punishment. The affidavit raises other concerns about Norton, saying he told the children how he would break into his ex's home to kill her and her husband. He told the children how he would break into his ex's home to kill her and her husband.
Now, Abaya, you're a sour, bitter police officer who quit, or no, they don't say I quit. They said, I read that in the comment section, they said, you got fired. And you're upset because you got fired. No, I didn't get fired. Yes, I quit, walked away, right? Under my own power. So no, I'm not salty. I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. None of that. This is the facts. This guy's telling his children he's going to break into his ex-wife's home, possibly their mother, and unalive or kill their mother. And we still make excuses for this. I'm so mind blown by some of the comments that I read in the comment section about, the guys. Listen, I know it's a thing in this community, back the blue until it happens to you, or, never back the police or never call the police. Listen, if you want to support the police, I'm not telling you not to. All right. I'm not going to be the guy to tell you not to. If that's what you want to do, then by all means. But let's not be naive. Let's just be honest. Let's not be stupid. If you have an officer who handcuffs his children, threatens to kill their mother, talks about he wants to commit murder just to see how it feels, would you want that officer coming to answer the call that you may have reached out to the police?
Oops.
And this is what I say, if these families or these police officers that you're calling to these incidents and events don't have the power within themselves to set thine house in order and do it correctly and raise that child up in the ways of the Lord. And instead he's abusing them and emotionally manipulating them and playing power games through his narcissism and ego. It's not where it ends. He then goes out into the public and does the same thing. Again, I don't think that people such as this should be in such offices or titles or positions, whatever you want to call them. I don't think they should have that, quote, authority. And this is why I think it's important that if we're going to have a police force, that we make sure that they are studious. They don't just do 6 months of training. They have a discourse in life that shows them both sides of the track. They've got study in civility, that civil test and knowing how the government's supposed to work, having morals and ethics standardized throughout their life and a track record showing that they do have a good family home. They are following good spiritual principles and they're not using it against other people. They're not being discriminatory. They're not advancing DEI and all that. They're advancing spiritual concept of each one has their own talents, and that's what should be developed, in my opinion. Again, of course,
if you want to hold a public position, you must be willing to pass from psychiatric evaluation.
Correct. You must be able to be competent. The competency comes and starts with your morals and ethics, so that if there is something you don't know and that you are not competent of yet, you at least can take the steps to do the research to learn and know, so that way you don't go forward trampling on rights and interests and stuff. You can't just go forth in life wantonly doing that, saying that, well, I just didn't know. That's the importance of learning. Go ahead.
The sad thing for many people that choosing jobs with uniforms is that they are mentally disturbed and they want to have power and authority against others because they are very troubled in their childhood and they are trying to put all the traumas that have passed in early age to other people. Sadly, they are mentally disturbed.
Yeah, they've gone through.
Yeah, them of course, but there are many cases that it's proved to be that way.
Well, yeah, they've come up in what we've come to know as broken homes, places where the father or mother or there, heaven forbid, be a truly broken home where it's a single mother, but they rule by physical discord and something like this, or and that always comes along with the emotional put downs, like you're an idiot or you're no good, and you always do things wrong and this and that. And so they grow up in this world where they've always been put down, and then in their adult life they come to a realization that they do have some knowledge, and that's when that ego and narcissism pops. They say, oh, you've been wrong all your life. No, we were wrong in accepting that we weren't good. See, this is why I say I don't care what kind of names you want to call me. I don't care what kind of distractions as far as false arguments and stuff like that you want to present up. I'm going to try my best to stay on topic and keep it a good conversation based on truth.
Keith, I'm trying to avoid excuses for this behavior because I myself, I am from a divided, screwed up family.
Yeah, we all are.
I learned in 50 years old that none of them were my truly family. I was adopted for money benefit. Yeah, that's right. They wanted to take the money, so they adopted me. But I believe that a man who is respecting himself, or a woman, he must not determine himself but by what others say.
Right. That's that. Yeah. Again, that goes back to know thyself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an easy excuse, but for me, it isn't that.
Yeah, and that's what we've got to get away from, is those excuses. That's why I'm pretty blunt with people. I'm not going to let you play those excuses. I was on a panel earlier today. Some guy wanted to talk about theology and stuff and the Christian scriptures and what it says and this and that. And he was drunk, and he did not know what he was talking about. And I got up there and started tearing it apart, and I found myself getting in my feelers about it. And finally, I just had to say, well, I've got to disconnect from this communication, because you're obviously not going to come to any kind of logic and reason. And that's tilting the balance in your favor because I'm getting emotional about it. So if I can't stick to logic and reason because you won't, then it's not a conversation. So, anyway, back to it.
Police, when you need help, would you want him showing up? How do you know you might not be that person he murders because he wants to see how it feels? How do we keep coming to this conclusion? Like, how is it that this doesn't make sense to some of us? I don't know, but I'm mind blown and I don't understand. But let's keep watching.
And it asserts that Norton once said he wanted to murder someone so he could see what it felt like. 9 News Investigates dug into Norton's law enforcement career. Handcuffs have come up as an issue before. This video is from 2020 when he worked for Broomfield Police. After an arrest, a woman escaped from Norton's car, and he was determined to find his handcuffs.
Where the other cuffs? Threw them off? Where?
After he eventually found her, he told her he wasn't using department-issued cuffs.
You have to pay for your handcuffs? Yeah, those were my personal ones.
Broomfield reprimanded him for the arrest.
Okay, in all honesty, being fair, I had personal cuffs. A lot of officers have personal cuffs. I want to explain that part, because just because he had personal cuffs, I don't think that within itself is actually bad. Okay, for example, you have the department-issued cuffs, and they're the regular cuffs with the chain. All right, and then you may go out and buy some cuffs that have your name engraved in them, so that if you lose them, because for whatever reason, around the department, the guys who arrest people for stealing actually steal a lot. Believe me, they steal a lot. A lot of handcuffs will come missing. I don't know why, but they will.
Imagine that. Stealing handcuffs within the police department. Policemen stealing handcuffs from within the police department. Why would you think that is? Would that go with the guns that they steal? You see where that leads? I mean, that's pretty nefarious kind of thought. But hey, I'm not going to minimize it and be cupcaking with nobody, because there is a reality of the possibility that there's police officers out there that go around kidnapping and torturing people just like they do their own families.
Will come up missing. So my handcuffs came up missing as well. Like, oh my God, like how are we police officers stealing inside of the department? Side note, not only that, once there was an email that went out because of $100 was stolen from the front desk that was being collected for one of the guys that was retiring. So it only had made its way up to $100 at that point, and it came up missing. wasn't even a lot of money, just $100, but it was missing. My point is this: police officers steal if you don't know, and so for that reason, you may want to go out, get your handcuffs, and have your name engraved in your handcuffs because you can't do that with the department issue cuffs. And so for that reason, I want to be fair. So this clip is saying that he had his own personal cuffs. Nothing's wrong with you having your own personal cuffs, but in this situation, it's what he was doing with those personal cuffs. That was the problem. Let's keep watching.
And also found he sent inappropriate and unwanted messages of a sexual nature to 4 coworkers. They accused Norton of creating an intimidating, hostile, and offensive work environment. Norton resigned in 2022 before he could be fired. Because of that, Morrison's chief needed to explain to the state why he was hiring the officer. In a January.
And see, that's one of their outs. This is part of that supposed immunity shit that they deal with. Says that if they resign on their own, then charges won't be held against them. So if they see imminent charges, they just resign. That's an easy out, and that's bullshit. See, that's why it's imperative that people understand that if your rights are violated, you don't hire an attorney to then make a representation in court. You find the proper venue court to do your jurisdictional suit against him as a man in the private side and take him for what you can for that violation, whatever is reasonable.
And then they go get a job somewhere else.
Well, no, part of that suit is that you make it known that in his public service, he violated the public trust. He's now on the Brady list. He can't be rehired in the same position. You have to learn how to enforce that stuff.
Yeah.
He had an lien and without security from his company.
Right. And that's why a lot of these guys have a private insurance policy.
Yeah.
So if they've got a private insurance policy, then they can't have immunity. Oops.
Yeah.
So if you don't do that, they'll resign. Even if they get fired, they'll still try to find a job somewhere else.
Right, but it's the important part is making sure that the record is made that of the violation that now says that he can't be rehired in public service like that. You can't once you put it on the record. See, this is the important. Again, you're not supposed to be going through these attorneys to make a representation in those courts. If you hire an attorney, it's only for counsel, not to make a representation in the court. The representation is already there.
I think sometimes, even though they've been fired for something like that, there's still police departments that will hire them and try to hide that crap. Because I've seen that, the people saying that these cops have been fired for child or this or that, and then they'll get a job anyway somewhere else.
Again, and that's the importance that I'm trying to impress upon people. It's time to step up to the plate and learn that we're the ones that are supposed to have the oversight. The only way we can have the oversight is by having the knowledge of how this stuff is supposed to work, so that when we see them doing it in error and wrongfully so, we can follow up and bring forth the remedy to that. And part of that remedy is that they are no longer allowed to perform in that public service.
Yeah, I think Lackluster Video does a lot of that, exposing.
Micah L says again, it's fucked up. These people should be held at a higher standard because they're supposed to be knowing of the law, but they're not. They don't have a degree in the law. But in fact, they are held at lower standards and promoted when they commit ultra-vires actions that go unaccounted for. And that's true. They're going unaccounted for, not in the sense that they're not accounted, but they're accounted in a misconstrued way to make the officer look like they were in the right. And that's what makes the people criminal. We have to learn the difference and understand that we have to realize that they're not supposed to be doing what they're doing against us, because again, like Eltheria says, it's nothing but a corporate entity. So everything they're doing is actually a business transaction. And if they're trying to force contracts, that's the violation of law. That's that First Amendment, freedom of association. I do not have to partake in your contract as a contractor if that contract is in development of that trust, which states that I'm a third-party benefactor. I'm not listed in the legislation of that contract. It's not written in there. I must be the third-party benefactor to it and not involved directly in it as one of the contractors. Therefore, I'm not liable.
totally correct. If we want to put something in the record, we must put first 12 assumptions of court or of law.
Yep.
And in second, we have to file an affidavit of truth with extreme prejudice in order to avoid someone could hire them in future time in another business, in another corporation inside the corporation. And if we want to have an unrebutted affidavit, we must put first Maxim's law that are the only law who is truth by definition.
Yep. And that's where it goes to the identification of the persons that I was talking about in the legislation. I'm not in that contract. I wasn't identified in it, but I can be identified by the third party benefactor. That's it. So let's continue on with this, because this guy is, like I said, this is psychotic, and this is egregious that we would have supposed righteous people as police captains or county sheriffs that would hire such people underneath them to do these things consistently. And like Rocky was mentioned, then turn around and be fired from one department and go get hired in another department with no questions asked. This is redundancy of the insanity, and this is why I say it is systemic throughout the entire system. This is why many people say there is no such thing as a good cop.
January 3rd, 2023 letter.
Most of the good cops you see are the ones that are retired and doing this. Abaya Israel, he used to be an officer. Barry Cooper, many others.
Chief Bill Donnelly wrote, "The information we have gathered does not preclude him from being a good fit as an officer for our department." When called today, Chief Donnelly said he had no comment. We left a message for...
Yeah, no comment now. No comment now, huh?
Norton's attorney, but we haven't heard back. He's due back in court November 11th for arraignment. As the criminal case plays out, the chief tells us that he has suspended Norton without pay. Live in the newsroom, Kevin Vaughn, 9 News.
Kevin, real quickly, I know we've talked about these cases in the past. There's really nothing that can stop someone from leaving and quitting a job while they're under investigation. You can't hold them and be like, whoa, you can't leave this job till we're done, right?
Right. They can't say you can't quit because I'm going to fire you. But they do have to report cases like that when someone's been recommended to termination to the State Peace Officers Standards and Training Board. And that's what happened here.
And that kind of reminds me, I just want to tell everybody about a situation I had when I was 18. I got my first criminal charge. And at the time, I was still delivering newspapers for the local paper company. I'd had a paper out since I was 10 years old. And at 18, I got in trouble with the law. And these people had the nerve to call me up and say, hey, man, we heard about your arrest, so you're hereby fired, but we need you to do to continue doing the paper out for the next 2 weeks. See, even at that young age, I knew that, no. The common sense tells me, no. If I'm fired, you just told me and it informs me I'm fired, then I am fired. I am fired. It's not that you're going to fire me in 2 weeks, so be prepared, because in 2 weeks after you get done doing the paper out for the next 2 weeks, we're going to fire you. No, you just said, I am fired, but we need you to do the paper out for another 2 weeks. No, you just fired me. You find somebody to do the paper out. This is contract, simple contract. You just fired me. You just nexated the contract.
I don't know if I want to know more about why someone's using personal cuffs instead of station-issued cuffs, but thank you for this report.
So the report stated that he was creating a intimidating work environment. He was hostile, all right? Wasn't a friendly guy, okay? Now, in any other situation, let's just say you're in your neighborhood and there's a guy who's hostile. He's not a friendly guy. He's very intimidating. And if you saw that guy walking down the street with a gun, you'll probably go the other direction. But it's okay if he's a police officer. So the city of Morrison or the Morrison Police Department, well, we find no reason why we should not hire this guy. Just because he made other coworkers at the former police department that he used to work for, just because they were terrified of this guy, they thought he was very hostile. We can hire him. We can give him a gun.
See how insane that sounds? I mean, they actually know about his behavior, but they say, that's okay, we're going to hire you anyway. See, that's the kind of bulldogs they want to intimidate the people. So I guarantee you, whatever department hired him, the guy that hired him wants him to move up the lines fast and have everybody else follow along. and prove the system of merits that you're going to get promoted if you do certain things. And it's the guy at the top that's doing it. The head agent. He's the one that allows it. He's the one that's responsible for their training. So when they take on people like this that they know either need further training or are willing to accept the liabilities that he's bringing about, and they're willing to expand those liabilities.
A badge, authority, you know, OC spray, baton, taser, a vehicle. We could give him all of those things because we did not find anything wrong with the report that we were given. So we hired him, and now he's handcuffing his little children, you know, as punishment, you know, torture. Hey, it's actually chilly, delete laws. He calls them torture cuffs, right? Yeah, torture cuffs. And can't say he's wrong. You can't say he's wrong. We're watching it for ourselves at this point. We're literally watching it. And here's where it just continues to get worse when the guy quits a job so he's not fired because of the hostility and the intimidation that he's spreading all over the department. Just goes.
And this is inherent in most all of them. And again, I'm not going to say it's across the board totally, but it sure seems that it's inherent in most all of them. That even in their own lives, they escalate things. That's in their nature.
To another department, that department hires him, and now that they have, you know, yoke on their face, you call them, they won't answer your phone calls. Why? It's just me looking out for you. You look out for me, I scratch your back, you scratch my back. This is how it works until you get caught. And then when you get caught, all of a sudden, sometimes you even see the police chief like, yeah, we're going to be transparent. No, you're not. You're just being transparent because you're caught. Okay, you have nothing else. You can't be any other way at this point. This is how it works inside of the walls. As I told you guys, police officers stealing inside of the department. Like, that's the real thing. And then they're going to get in their patrol car and probably go out to one of these big grocery stores or shopping centers. And when they get a call, and they're going to arrest you for shoplifting right after they just stole someone else's handcuffs.
Or let you get away with killing somebody in Walmart because you've got some kind of personality on the internet. It's sick, folks. Actually
handcuffing you with handcuffs that they stole from someone else, but they're handcuffing you with those cuffs because you just finished stealing from a store. Hypocrisy. You guys keep asking, hey, why did you leave the department? Well, this doesn't tell you, right? And if this does not tell you, go look at the video on my homepage. There's an entire trailer. The video is about an hour long. I go through all of that. I also have a book. The link is pinned down in the comment section.
Yes. So again, go ahead and go over and check out Abaya Israel, We the People University, and welcome, Brick Jonesy. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing all right, man. Good to see you. Good to see you up. Great to see you doing a panel, man. That's pretty cool, man. You know, just I've been working on a long video edit. I'm probably gonna run it as a premiere, so some body cam footage stuff. So
cool.
Doing my thing, man.
All right. Well, drop your channel link in the chat for me, and I'll give that out to everybody. Go check it out. Another man on board with trying to rightly divide the word of truth. Sees most of the insanity as far as I know. And that's what we're dealing with, is people waking up to the reality of the insanity and realizing that you're part of it. I keep telling people I used to be a bitch-ass slave. I was a fucking fool. I was the idiot. And I still find myself playing those parts here and there and doing stupid things. But again, that's because I've learned to recognize myself as not perfect, and that part of the life is taking on that challenge of learning in those new experiences. This is why I don't resent my experiences. I use them as experiences to learn from. Why would I resent that? So what do you think about the were you watching with when I first started with Chappelle?
Yeah, I might have to go out and then come back in. My internet's drippy, I guess. I don't know, what do you want to call it, but I'll go out and I'll come back in.
All right, we'll be here. So what do you guys got on it?
Oh yeah, cops suck.
Well, the concept of police is accurate. The problem is we have the wrong people in those positions. Another part of the problem is the people as a whole don't realize their authority and the fact that they have to have the knowledge to maintain the oversight to make sure we do have the proper people in those positions. Welcome back, Brick.
All right, man. Cool. Can you guys hear me just fine?
Yep, you're loud and clear, 5x5.
Very good, very good. All right, go on with what you were saying. I didn't catch all of it, so
well, I was
a couple of things.
I was wondering if you were watching from the beginning here when we watched the Dave Chappelle thing on the LGBTQ. He made some very good, solid points in his comedic reviews, and I was wondering if you'd watch that and want to make any comments on that. If not, I urge you to go back and watch it because it's funny as hell, but straight to the point.
Yeah, no, actually, I wasn't. I kind of came in right there when Abaya was talking about I guess it was a cop who's been handcuffing his kids, and I watch Abaya all the time. We the People University, big shout out to that man. I'm so glad he came to the good side, if you want to call it that. It's better than the other side. So he's doing some great work, I will have to say. So
absolutely, and that's part of this whole thing is coming together in this stuff. And I hope everybody's catching those links to these people I'm dropping and go over. And like I said, at least check them out so you can determine whether you want to support them or not. And this is going to help you build your own self-discernment on what these guys are talking about. Only, again, I say all the time, don't believe me, don't believe your neighbor, don't believe the government. For crying out loud, don't believe your mother or any of these other internet people. Do your Oops, I had Bricky in the background interrupting me. But do your research so you know. So even when I'm sending you over to Abaya Israel, do research on what he's telling you. He's going to give you certain codes and stuff that you can look up and see what they're saying. Different case law. He's done it many times. He's going to keep doing it. He's going to give you specific points of law. This is an officer that actually did go beyond the police training and do his research. And that's why it's important. He's one of the ones that's going to help on the other side of the track, showing us what happened in there. Like you said, police officers aren't innocent. They are all thieves too. Not all thieves, but there's a bunch of thieves amongst them as well. So it's these kind of people we need to come together with so we can commingle and come up with a good, solid resolution to the systemic problem on both sides, because he's going to help show people how to learn this stuff so they can help in that oversight and correction. He can't do it alone, and neither can I. That's why we've got to come together. So let me see what Rocky dropped something in the back. Let me check it out real quick. Oh, that's a link to the civil rights lawyer. Yes. I'll go ahead and drop that. Good idea. Unless you've got something else to point out about it, Rocky. Unless you had a specific video you wanted me to look at. But there is.
I just like his channel. That's all.
Yeah, he does a good job too. He's another one. He's actually an attorney down in Kentucky or somewhere, North Carolina, something, Virginia maybe, and and he goes over a lot of this stuff too, and gives case laws, and he's actually involved with some of these, and these people are some of this stuff. He ends up being their representative, so he's got a lot of good cases in there. Other than that, I guess we are done for tonight. I do have more videos, but we're getting on. I don't want to make these things too long, but 2.5 to 3 hours is usually pretty good. But the next video I've got is a half hour itself, so take us about an hour to go over that. So we'll keep this for now. But anything on the way out, guys, we're going to keep continuing to review this insanity. Hopefully I'll be able to stay on schedule. But however, you noticed I didn't come up last night. I'm involved in a certain class on Sundays at this point. It's going to be for probably 7, 8, 9 weeks. So in the meantime, I'm going to do these on Monday nights, tits out and balls to the walls, 6 p.m. on Sunday nights, Central Standard Time. In the meantime, hit that like, share, and subscribe. There's a PayPal link for anybody who wants to share some love. What do you guys got on the way out? What's your thoughts on this insanity, and what can we do to come together and solve it?
Well, that's a big question, but I trust in the Lord to guide me, to do whatever I need to do. I try to come up here on panels and stuff and share Christ and the scriptures and stuff. Then I get some people, they get offended when I bring up Christ, and then they block me and shadow ban me.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I was listening to somebody else today in very wise words, and it's something I've thought about before, and this is because I delve so deeply into the words and their origins and construction and stuff, and that is the commingling of words as we speak and the babble that we end up putting out. And this is why I urge people to learn that stuff, so you can learn to rephrase things. Instead of using terms like Christ and God, there are other terms that we can use that will import the same concept, but leave out the argumentative part. It lessens that, quote, distraction, and kind of helps bring people together when we talk about spirituality rather than God or Jesus. Everybody recognizes spirituality, and in its context, it's different than God, Jesus, or Allah, and this and that, whatever other people call their gods. They still understand it in its basic principle as a spirituality. This is why I ask people all the time, are you a man? And I laugh and giggle. Well, first I'll ask them if they're a Christian, then they say yeah, and then I ask them if they're a man, and they say yes again, and I have to giggle, because if they're a Christian and they really know those scriptures and they look at Genesis 2:7, it says God formed man of the dust of the ground, and when he breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, man became a living soul. Yet they want to sit there and that other definition of man, because they don't realize there's something that happened there that in that event that wasn't recorded properly, and we've never learned it. We've always been instructed in the person, the man. That's a noun. Man is a noun. Person is a noun is a person, place, or a thing. So is man a person? Yes. What is a living soul? It's not a noun, so it's not a person. Living soul is an adjective, and it relates and corresponds to the reality of the real thing. So are you a person, place, or a thing? And in that thing, are you the singular part as the noun, or are you the whole part as a adjective? Living, which is a verb, soul, which is a noun, which creates a specific type of attached adjective, changing the noun as importing it as part of the verb, rather than the other way around and saying it's a person, which is imported into man, and therefore both fiction. This here is separating it so there's a reality from the fiction. You have to understand the language and how it's used. Bring the child up in the ways of the Lord, which is in the ways of the Word. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. If you're going to bring up the child in the ways of God, then you have to bring him up in the ways of the Word. If there is no tongue that shall prosper against you, you shall rise up against any tongue that shall condemn you. You have to know those tongues so that you can do that. And this is the inheritance of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me. And that is the ability to know the word so you can rightly divide them. I urge you to start learning what those scriptures are really telling you. You do not need to be Christian to comprehend them and use them for the full intent. And that is to bring all people together, whether they're Christians or not.
Yeah. You know, they like to call us human monsters. Human monsters.
Well, Nick Gallo, spot on again. This goes to that oversight I'm telling you about. When we learn and comprehend these laws and how they're supposed to operate, the people can hold that grand jury, the grand inquest, due to it bringing accountability and liability to public service, which is a public trust. And you can only do that by recognizing your position in that public trust and enforcing it. The benefactor is the one that gives to the beneficiary. So if the government believes in any way that they are the beneficiary, they must accept the fact that, again, even in their own documentation, that the government gets its just powers from the consent of the people. Therefore, again, agreeing that the benefactor is the one that gives to the beneficiary. Fess up and give it back. If you're not going to be using it appropriately according to your responsibility and authority under that liability, then you cannot have that liability. You can no longer be a police officer.
Exactly.
All right. Well, with that, guys, you got anything on the way out, Brick?
Torture cuffs are always torture.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree with Chili on that as well. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Just real quick, yeah, man, I'm really happy to see that you're doing panels, man. You said you do these Mondays now. Are you going to try to do them Mondays?
Yeah, I'll do them Mondays
later?
at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I had been doing them Sundays, but like I said, I've got a new class on Sunday afternoons that would dig into it. So we're going to just switch this night, and I'll go back to Sunday nights when the class is over.
Very good. Yeah, man, I'll try to make it over here if I can. You know how much I like to do panels. I love to talk about God, and I'll talk about politics. I'll talk about whatever. I just actually was up on Brian Young's his new channel. He did make a video, which was really cool, with me on it. So that was really cool after he did the live. So that was pretty cool. I love to do this. So
Yep,
I'll try to make it over here.
Absolutely. Appreciate
All
it, brother. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah.
How about you, Rocky?
Oh no, I don't got nothing extra. I don't like last words, but thanks for having me, and God bless.
You bet. Absolutely. I'll take those as last words my well. All right. And with that, folks, you guys know me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. And that's to say, I don't care if you don't like me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night. See you next time, guys.